Part 1. The Heart of the Matter. Why God Cares About Your Money. Welcome to The Word on Wealth, where we explore the profound connection between our faith and our finances. Today, we begin at the very foundation, grappling with a question many might find surprising. Why does God care about your money? For some, the realms of faith and finance seem entirely separate, one spiritual and the other purely secular. Yet, as we delve into Scripture, we discover an undeniable truth. Money is, in its very essence, a deeply spiritual matter, inextricably tied to the condition of your heart. Perhaps no verse encapsulates this truth more clearly than the words of Jesus himself, recorded in the Gospel of Matthew in its 6th chapter, verse 21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. This is not a casual observation. It is a profound declaration. Jesus connects our deepest affections, our core loyalties, to what we value, and by extension, to how we use our resources. Our money, our time, our energy, these are all forms of treasure, and where we choose to invest them, that is where our heart truly resides. If our treasure is solely in earthly possessions, then our heart will be consumed by them. But if our treasure is in the eternal, then our heart will long for the things of God. Consider the implications of this statement. God is not merely interested in a small portion of your life, like your Sunday morning worship or your quiet prayer time. He is interested in the whole of you, and that includes your financial life, how you earn your money, how you save it, how you spend it, and how you give it. These are all spiritual acts. They are reflections of your values, your priorities, and your understanding of God's sovereignty. Every financial decision, large or small, serves as a litmus test for your heart's true allegiance. Do you trust God as your provider, or do you rely solely on your own efforts? Do you prioritize generosity, or is self-interest your primary motivator? The truth is, God watches what you pay for. This concept might sound jarring to some, but it is deeply rooted in biblical teaching. Our purchases and our investments are not invisible to God. They are transparent declarations of what we deem important. When we spend lavishly on ourselves while ignoring the needs of others, God sees that. When we invest in ventures that exploit rather than uplift, God sees that too. And conversely, when we use our resources to support ministries, to aid the poor, to build ethical businesses, or to provide for our families with wisdom and generosity, God sees that too, and He is pleased. Our capital allocation, how we distribute our financial resources, is under divine scrutiny, not for condemnation, but for alignment. Therefore, aligning your capital allocation with biblical wisdom is crucial. This means moving beyond merely asking, "Can I afford this?" to asking, "Should I spend or invest in this according to God's principles?" It means seeking counsel from Scripture on matters of debt, savings, giving, and responsible business practices. It means understanding that every dollar is not truly yours, but a resource entrusted to you by God for His purposes. This stewardship mindset fundamentally transforms how we view and handle money. It calls us to prudence, to generosity, to integrity, and to a long-term perspective that transcends immediate gratification. This alignment is crucial for two profound reasons. It impacts both your earthly impact and your eternal reward. On earth, wise and biblical financial stewardship allows you to be a powerful agent of change. It enables you to build businesses that create value and jobs, to support churches and charities that spread the gospel and alleviate suffering, and to provide for your family in a way that models God's provision. Your finances, when properly aligned, become a tangible force for good in the world, addressing poverty, fostering innovation, and bringing light to darkness. This is the practical, immediate impact. But the implications extend far beyond this earthly realm. as Jesus spoke of laying up treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 20. He pointed to an eternal reward. Our faithful stewardship now has implications for eternity. Every act of generous giving, every ethical business decision, every disciplined saving for a righteous cause is an investment in your eternal future. It demonstrates a heart that prioritizes God's kingdom, and such a heart will receive a reward that far surpasses any earthly riches. In summary, God cares about your money, not because He needs it, but because He cares deeply about your heart. He desires for your finances to be an expression of your devotion to Him, a tool for His kingdom, and a source of both earthly impact and eternal reward. Understanding this foundational truth is the first, most crucial step in transforming your financial journey into a powerful testament to your faith.
Part 2. From Sand to Seed, How God Designed Your Money to Multiply. In our first segment, we established that God deeply cares about your money because it reveals the true condition of your heart. Now we shift our focus to how God intends for your money to function and grow. Many people treat money like sand slipping through their fingers. It comes in and it quickly dissipates, leaving little lasting impact. This passive approach often leads to financial scarcity and missed opportunities. However, the Bible consistently presents a different, more powerful metaphor: money as seed that multiplies. This contrast is fundamental to understanding God's design for your financial life. When we view money as sand, it implies transience, something to be spent or lost. There is no expectation of growth or return. But when we view money as seed, it immediately changes our perspective. A seed is not meant to be hoarded or ignored. It is meant to be planted. When planted in fertile ground, nurtured and cared for, a single seed has the miraculous potential to yield a harvest many times its original size. This agricultural analogy is deeply embedded in Scripture, reflecting God's economy of multiplication and abundance. Therefore, keeping cash idle or misplaced in low-interest accounts is negligence, not stewardship. While having an emergency fund is wise and necessary, allowing significant portions of your capital to sit stagnant, losing purchasing power to inflation, or earning negligible returns is a missed opportunity for growth. The book of Proverbs in its 27th chapter, verse 23, reminds us, "Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds." While this refers to literal livestock, its principle applies equally to our financial resources. Diligence in managing our assets means understanding their potential and actively working to make them productive. Just as a farmer would be negligent to let his best seeds rot in a barn, a steward is negligent to let valuable capital remain unproductive. This is not about risk-taking for its own sake, but about thoughtful, strategic deployment of resources. Consider the parable of the talents in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25. The master entrusted varying amounts of money to his servants. The servants who invested and multiplied their talents were praised and rewarded, while the one who buried his talent out of fear, keeping it idle and unproductive, was condemned as wicked and lazy. This powerful parable illustrates God's expectation for us to actively steward and grow the resources He entrusts to us, not to passively preserve them. He desires multiplication, not stagnation. This leads us to another crucial aspect of God's design. He desires His people to be lenders, not borrowers. The book of Deuteronomy, in its 28th chapter, verse 12, makes a profound promise. "The Lord will open to you His good treasure, the heavens, to give the rain to your land in its season, and to bless all the work of your hand. You shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow." This is a vision of financial strength, influence, and blessing. To be a lender signifies financial health, the surplus of resources that can be used to empower others, to finance kingdom initiatives, and to create opportunities. Borrowing, while sometimes necessary and not inherently sinful, often places one in a position of dependence, diverting future resources to interest payments rather than productive endeavors or generous giving. Being a lender reflects God's own character as the ultimate provider and sustainer.
When His people are financially strong, they can be channels of His provision to a needy world. They can fund missions, support the poor, create jobs, and demonstrate the generosity of God in tangible ways. This is the abundant life God intends for His children, a life not just free from financial burden, but empowered to be a blessing. Therefore, the shift from treating money like fleeting sand to recognizing its potential as multiplying seed is transformative. It calls us to active stewardship, thoughtful investment, and a diligent pursuit of financial health, so that we might not only escape the bondage of debt, but also become generous givers and powerful agents of God's kingdom on earth. This is the divine design for your money: to grow, to multiply, and to be a blessing. Part 3. The first key: the Storehouse Account and unlocking blessing. Having understood that God desires our money to multiply like a seed, not dissipate like sand, the crucial question then becomes, how do we initiate this multiplication? What is the very first key to unlocking the abundant blessings God promises for our financial lives? The answer, unequivocally, is found in a timeless divine command, often referred to as the Storehouse Account. This foundational principle is powerfully articulated in the book of Malachi, in its 3rd chapter, verse 10, where God declares, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out for you such blessing that there will not be room enough to store it." This isn't merely an Old Testament ritual. It is a foundational covenant principle that remains profoundly relevant for us today. The storehouse in biblical times was the central place where the tithes of the people were collected to support the priests, the temple, and the work of God's kingdom. In our contemporary context, the storehouse is understood as your local church, the spiritual home where you are fed, nurtured, and equipped, and from which the work of the kingdom extends into your community and beyond. The command is clear: bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. This signifies 10% of your gross income, not just what's left over. And critically, it is to be brought first. This intentionality, bringing the first 10% before any other expenditure, is not arbitrary. It is a profound act of faith and obedience, setting the spiritual tone for all your financial dealings. One of the most powerful aspects of this Storehouse Account is that it unequivocally declares God as your ultimate source. When you faithfully bring the first portion of your income to Him, you are making a bold statement against the prevailing worldly narrative that says your job, your skills, or your investments are your source. You are proclaiming through your actions that God is your provider, your sustainer, and the one from whom every good and perfect gift comes, as the Apostle James writes in his letter, chapter 1, verse 17. This declaration shifts your perspective from self-reliance to divine reliance, fostering a deep trust in God's ability to meet your every need. Furthermore, bringing the whole tithe first is a powerful mechanism for breaking fear. In a world riddled with financial anxiety, the thought of giving away 10% of your income, especially when finances feel tight, can be daunting. But it is precisely in that moment of tension, when you choose faith over fear, that a spiritual breakthrough occurs. It's an act of surrendering control, acknowledging that even with less in your hands, God is more than capable of providing. This act of trusting obedience dismantles the stronghold of scarcity and replaces it with the peace that comes from knowing God is in control of your finances. It teaches you that your security is not in the amount in your bank account, but in the unwavering faithfulness of your Heavenly Father. And then comes the extraordinary promise: test me in this, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out for you such blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. This is an invitation from God Himself to experience His supernatural abundance. These floodgates of heaven signify an outpouring of favor that extends far beyond mere money. It can manifest as unexpected opportunities, divine connections, increased wisdom, protection from loss, improved health, or an overall sense of peace and flourishing in every area of your life. It is an abundance so vast that it exceeds your capacity to contain it, designed to bless you so that you, in turn, can be a greater blessing to others. This principle is deeply rooted in the law of sowing and reaping, a universal spiritual law established by God. Just as a farmer plants a seed expecting a harvest, when we sow our tithe, we are planting a spiritual seed. The book of Galatians, in its 6th chapter, verse 7, reminds us, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." Tithing is not a payment. It is an investment into God's kingdom, an act of faith that God will honor and multiply. It positions you to receive a harvest far greater than the seed you planted. In essence, the Storehouse Account, by prioritizing God with the first 10% of your income, is the primary key to unlocking divine blessing and initiating the multiplication of your finances. It is a tangible act of worship that declares God as your source, shatters the grip of fear, and positions you squarely under the open floodgates of His abundant provision. This foundational act transforms your financial journey into a powerful testament to His faithfulness.
Part 4. The Multiplier, the Wisdom Account for Prudent Investing. With the spiritual foundation of the Storehouse Account firmly in place, our financial journey now moves to the next crucial phase, multiplying what remains. This is where we introduce the Multiplier, or the Wisdom Account, which focuses on prudent investing. Having honored God with our tithe, we are now called to steward the remaining 90% with wisdom, making our money work for us. This principle is beautifully illustrated by Joseph's strategic actions in the book of Genesis, where he stored grain during years of plenty to prepare for famine, demonstrating foresight and diligent stewardship. The book of Proverbs, in its 21st chapter, verse 20, aptly states, "Precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it." This verse highlights the contrast between accumulation through wisdom and dissipation through folly. The concept of making your money work for you is not a modern invention. It is a biblical mandate. The parable of the talents, found in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 25, clearly illustrates this. The master entrusted servants with money, expecting them to invest and multiply it. The servants who put their talents to work, generating a return, were commended. The one who simply buried his money, failing to multiply it, was condemned. This parable underscores God's expectation for us to be active, not passive stewards of our resources, aiming for growth and multiplication. In today's financial landscape, one of the primary vehicles for this multiplication is through taxable brokerage accounts. These accounts allow you to invest in a wide array of assets, providing flexibility and control over your investments. Within these accounts, a wise strategy often involves investing in stocks and exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, for long-term diversified growth. Let us elaborate on these. Stocks represent ownership shares in individual companies. When you buy a stock, you are buying a small piece of a business. As that business grows and becomes more profitable, the value of your shares can increase, and you may also receive dividends, which are distributions of the company's earnings. Investing in individual stocks requires careful research and understanding of specific companies and industries. Exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, offer a powerful way to achieve diversified growth. An ETF is a basket of various assets, such as stocks, bonds, or commodities, that trades on an exchange like an individual stock. For example, you can invest in an S&P 500 ETF, which gives you exposure to 500 of the largest companies in the United States, instantly diversifying your investment across many different sectors. This diversification is a key principle of wise investing, helping to mitigate risk by not putting all your eggs in one basket. As the book of Ecclesiastes in its 11th chapter, verse 2 advises, "Divide your portion to 7, or even to 8, for you do not know what misfortune may occur on earth." This ancient wisdom speaks to the importance of spreading your investments to reduce vulnerability. The goal with these investments is long-term growth. True wealth creation rarely happens overnight. It is a process of patience, consistent contribution, and allowing the power of compounding to work its magic. Compounding is where your earnings themselves begin to earn returns, accelerating the growth of your capital over time. This principle aligns perfectly with the biblical idea of planting seeds and patiently awaiting a harvest. To fulfill the biblical mandate to multiply talents, your approach to investing should be prayerful, informed, and strategic. Seek counsel from reputable financial advisors, educate yourself on sound investment principles, and always align your investment choices with your biblical values. Avoid get-rich-quick schemes, which often prey on greed and ignorance, and instead focus on disciplined, long-term strategies that honor God. By establishing a wisdom account and prudently investing in diversified assets like stocks and ETFs, you are actively participating in God's design for multiplication. You are transforming your money from idle sand into productive seed, making it work diligently for you and positioning yourself not only for personal financial abundance, but also for greater capacity to contribute to God's kingdom. This is stewardship in action, moving beyond mere preservation to purposeful proliferation.
Part 5. The Protector, the healing account for health and security. As faithful stewards, our responsibility extends beyond multiplication to diligent protection. While we actively plant seeds for growth in our wisdom account, we must also build safeguards against the unforeseen challenges of life. This brings us to the Protector, or the healing account, a dedicated fund for health and security. This account is vital for managing unforeseen medical needs, providing not just financial stability but also profound peace of mind, aligning with biblical wisdom that encourages prudence and foresight. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. Illness, accidents, and emergencies can arise suddenly, bringing with them not only emotional distress but often significant financial burdens. Without proper preparation, these events can quickly derail even the most carefully constructed financial plans, leading to debt, stress, and a diminished capacity to serve God and others. This is precisely why a dedicated fund for health and security, such as a health savings account, or HSA, or a similar emergency fund, is not merely a good idea, it is a spiritual imperative. A health savings account, or HSA, is a powerful tool for those eligible, typically individuals enrolled in a high-deductible health plan. It offers a triple tax advantage. Contributions are tax-deductible, earnings grow tax-free, and withdrawals for qualified medical expenses are tax-free. An HSA is essentially a long-term savings account specifically designed for healthcare costs, both current and future. It allows you to build a substantial reserve that can be used for deductibles, co-pays, prescriptions, and a host of other medical expenses that traditional insurance might not fully cover. For those not eligible for an HSA, a separate, easily accessible savings account specifically earmarked for health and emergencies serves a similar protective purpose. The importance of preparing for illness and emergencies cannot be overstated. This preparation is not an act of fear, but an act of faith and responsibility. It demonstrates a trust in God's provision while also exercising the wisdom He has given us to plan for the future. The book of Proverbs, in its 22nd chapter, verse 3, states, "A prudent man foresees evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished." This timeless wisdom encourages us to anticipate potential difficulties and take proactive steps to mitigate their impact. Building a healing account is a practical manifestation of this prudence. One of the most immediate benefits of having such a fund is the peace it provides. When a medical crisis strikes, the last thing you want to worry about is how you will pay for treatment. Knowing that you have resources set aside specifically for these situations alleviates a tremendous amount of stress, allowing you to focus on recovery and well-being. This peace is a reflection of God's desire for us to live without unnecessary anxiety, trusting Him even as we exercise wise stewardship. As the Apostle Paul writes in his letter to the Philippians, chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." Financial preparedness contributes to this peace. Moreover, a healing account preserves dignity. In times of medical need, having dedicated funds means you can make decisions based on the best course of treatment, not solely on financial constraints. It prevents the need to resort to desperate measures, rely entirely on charity, or incur crippling debt, thereby upholding your sense of self-respect and autonomy in a challenging season. Finally, and perhaps most beautifully, a robust healing account can even empower generosity when others face crises. When your own house is in order, when your personal medical needs are financially covered, you are then in a position to extend a helping hand to others who are struggling. The book of Proverbs, in its 17th chapter, verse 22, reminds us, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." While this verse refers to emotional well-being, its spirit of healing and upliftment can be extended to financial generosity in times of crisis. Imagine being able to bless a friend with medical bills, or contribute to a family facing an unexpected illness because your own financial house is sound. This is where personal protection transforms into outward-focused compassion, reflecting the heart of God. In conclusion, the Protector, your healing account, whether it's an HSA or a dedicated emergency fund, is an essential component of biblical financial stewardship. It provides a safeguard against life's uncertainties, cultivates peace of mind, preserves dignity, and empowers you to be a beacon of generosity in times of need. It is a testament to wise planning and a deep trust in God's ongoing provision.
Part 6, the growth account for long-term wealth. Having addressed the Storehouse Account for immediate blessing, the Wisdom Account for prudent investing, and the Healing Account for protection, we now turn our attention to the long horizon, the Future Builder, or the Growth Account. This segment focuses on building substantial, long-term wealth, primarily through retirement accounts, enabling you to live a life of financial freedom and continue to be a blessing far into the future. This is where the patient discipline of faithful sowing truly blossoms into an abundant harvest, reflecting God's law of increase. The concept of building for the future is deeply embedded in biblical wisdom. We are called to be diligent, not just for today, but for tomorrow. The ant in the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verses 6 through 8, serves as a powerful example. "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider her ways and be wise, which, having no captain, overseer, or ruler, provides her supplies in the summer and gathers her food in the harvest." This speaks to foresight, discipline, and consistent effort over time, principles directly applicable to long-term wealth building. Central to this growth account are retirement accounts, such as the 401k or 401k and the Roth IRA or individual retirement arrangement. These accounts are specifically designed to encourage long-term savings for retirement through significant tax advantages, and they harness the extraordinary power of decades of compounding. Let us consider the 401k. This is an employer-sponsored retirement plan that allows employees to contribute a portion of their pre-tax salary directly into investments. The money grows tax-deferred, meaning you do not pay taxes on the investment gains until you withdraw the funds in retirement. Many employers also offer a matching contribution, effectively giving you free money, making the 401k an incredibly powerful tool for wealth accumulation. It is essentially an immediate, guaranteed return on your investment before any market growth. Then there is the Roth IRA. This account operates differently. Contributions are made with after-tax dollars, but qualified withdrawals in retirement are entirely tax-free. This offers immense benefits, particularly for younger individuals who expect to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement. Both the 401k and the Roth IRA are strategic vehicles for building substantial wealth over time, primarily because they allow your investments to compound for decades. Compounding is often called the eighth wonder of the world. It is the process by which your investment earnings themselves start earning returns, leading to exponential growth. A small, consistent contribution started early in your career can grow into a formidable sum over 30 or 40 years thanks to compounding. This requires a long-term vision, a steadfast commitment to consistent saving and investing even when market fluctuations might tempt you to pull your money out. It is the patient trust in the law of sowing and reaping, knowing that small seeds planted today can yield a mighty harvest in the distant future.
This long-term vision, when balanced with a spirit of entrepreneurship, creates a dynamic path to abundant wealth. Entrepreneurship, the act of starting and running a business, often involves taking calculated risks, identifying needs, and creating value. It is a powerful way to generate income and build capital, providing even more resources to fuel your growth accounts. Many biblical figures, from Abraham to Lydia, demonstrated entrepreneurial spirit, utilizing their gifts and resources to create value and multiply their influence. A wise steward seeks not only to manage what is given, but also to proactively generate more, always with an eye toward kingdom impact. Ultimately, this process of faithful sowing, consistently contributing to your growth accounts, investing prudently, and perhaps engaging in entrepreneurial ventures with wisdom and prayer, is designed to turn into an abundant harvest. This abundance is not merely for personal luxury, but for expanded capacity to honor God, support your family, and bless others. As the book of Ecclesiastes in its 11th chapter, verse 6 encourages us, "In the morning sow your seed, and in the evening do not withhold your hand. For you do not know which will prosper, either this or that, or whether both alike will be good." This speaks to diligent, consistent effort in all seasons, trusting that God will bring the increase. By diligently funding your 401k, Roth IRA, and exploring entrepreneurial endeavors with wisdom and prayer, you are building a legacy of financial strength. You are creating a future builder that will provide for your later years, empower greater generosity, and allow you to continue to be a powerful force for good in God's kingdom, reflecting His own law of increase and abundance for those who faithfully steward His resources.
Part 7. The Legacy Account. Leaving an inheritance for generations. In our journey of faithful stewardship, we have progressed from understanding God's design for money to actively building our storehouse, wisdom, healing, and future builder accounts. Now we reach the apex of this biblical financial framework, the legacy account. This final principle invites us to shift our perspective on retirement from a purely personal escape to a profound generational blessing. It is about understanding that the wealth you accumulate through diligent stewardship is not solely for your own consumption, but can extend as a powerful testament of God's provision and a strong financial foundation for your children's children. The world often paints a picture of retirement as a time for self-indulgence, a well-deserved reward after decades of labor. While rest and enjoyment are certainly part of God's design, the biblical vision expands far beyond personal leisure. It calls us to consider the enduring impact of our financial decisions, recognizing that our lives are part of a larger, multi-generational story. Intentional planning, especially through our retirement accounts we discussed earlier, transforms mere personal savings into a powerful tool for leaving a lasting legacy. Consider the wealth accumulated in your 401k or your Roth individual retirement arrangement or other investment vehicles. As you mature in your financial journey, you may reach a point where your personal needs are more than met. At this stage, the excess wealth built through decades of compounding becomes a potential legacy account, a reservoir of resources that can be strategically managed to bless future generations. This requires a shift in mindset, seeing your financial abundance not just as a means for personal comfort, but as a divine resource entrusted to you for the continuity of blessing. This intentional planning ensures you leave a testimony of provision. An inheritance is far more than just money. It is a tangible expression of a life lived in faithfulness to God, a witness to His abundant provision through wise stewardship. When your children and grandchildren see a financial foundation built on biblical principles, free from the burdens of debt, and capable of generating ongoing blessing, it speaks volumes. It testifies to the fact that God honors diligence, that His principles work, and that a life committed to Him can break cycles of financial hardship and establish a new trajectory of freedom and generosity. You become a living example of God's promise to open the windows of heaven. Furthermore, this foresight establishes a strong financial foundation for your children's children. Imagine the impact of graduating from college debt-free, or receiving seed capital to start a kingdom-minded business, or having a down payment for a first home.
These are not handouts, but strategic empowerments that can launch future generations into greater levels of financial freedom and capacity to serve. This prevents them from starting their adult lives with the crushing weight of student loans or the struggle for basic financial stability. Instead, it provides a launch pad, enabling them to pursue their God-given callings with fewer financial impediments. This is the essence of generational blessing, passing on not just assets, but also the wisdom and values that created them. The biblical mandate for this generational thinking is clearly articulated in the book of Proverbs, in its 13th chapter, verse 22, which states, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous." This verse is a profound cornerstone for our legacy account. The good man is a person of integrity and diligence, someone who lives according to God's wisdom. Their goodness extends beyond their own lifetime, ensuring their descendants are provided for. The term inheritance here encompasses not only financial assets, but also a heritage of faith, character, and wisdom, a holistic legacy. And significantly, it specifies children's children, underscoring the multi-generational vision. God's desire is not just for you to be blessed, but for your lineage to thrive, extending His kingdom influence for generations. Therefore, as you build your future through retirement accounts and other investments, hold the vision of a legacy account firmly in your mind. Let your stewardship be driven by a desire to glorify God, not just in your lifetime, but through the lives of those who come after you. By intentionally planning to leave an inheritance, you transform personal wealth into a powerful spiritual and financial legacy, ensuring that the testimony of God's provision continues to unfold for generations to come. This is the ultimate expression of planting seeds that multiply, providing a harvest for your family's future, and leaving an enduring witness to God's faithfulness.
Part 8. The Hub, the daily account for efficient money flow. Having established the purposeful accounts for blessing, multiplication, protection, and legacy, we now turn our attention to the operational core of your financial ecosystem, the Hub, or your daily checking account. While not a wealth-building account in itself, it is critically important. Think of your checking account as the efficient engine room of a ship or the central processing unit of a computer system. It is designed to be lean and agile, facilitating the smooth and automatic funding of all your other specialized accounts. Your checking account's primary function is to serve as the gateway for your daily transactions and the automatic flow of your income to its designated purposes. It is where your paychecks land and from where your bills are paid. However, it is crucial to understand that excess cash held in this account is a leakage, not a blessing. This is a concept often overlooked, yet profoundly important for effective stewardship. The book of Proverbs, in its 27th chapter, verse 23, offers a timeless principle that resonates here. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks and attend to your herds. While this verse speaks of agricultural oversight, its underlying wisdom is about knowing where your resources are, how they are being utilized, and preventing waste. Excess cash sitting idly in a checking account is not working for you. It is losing purchasing power due to inflation, earning negligible interest, and is at higher risk of being impulsively spent. It is like leaving a tap running, allowing precious resources to slowly drain away. The ideal checking account should hold just enough cash to cover your immediate monthly expenses, plus a small buffer for incidentals. All other funds, particularly your tithe and savings, should be swiftly moved out of this account and into their respective purposeful destinations. This lean approach ensures that every dollar has a job and is deployed to its highest and best use according to your biblical financial plan. The key to transforming your daily account into an obedient servant for your financial ecosystem lies in automation. This is where modern banking technology becomes a powerful tool for faithful stewardship. By setting up automatic transfers, you remove the human element of forgetfulness, procrastination, or temptation. Here's how automation works to prevent leakage and ensure efficient money flow. First, your Storehouse Account. Immediately upon receiving your income, an automatic transfer should direct your whole tithe to your church.
This ensures God is honored first, without fail. Second, your wisdom account for investing. Set up automatic contributions to your taxable brokerage account, funding your investments in stocks and ETFs. Even small, consistent amounts automatically invested can build significant wealth over time. Third, your healing account for health and security. Schedule automatic transfers to your health savings account or emergency fund. This builds your protective shield consistently without you having to remember to do it manually. Fourth, your future builder account for long-term wealth. Ensure your 401k contributions are automatically deducted from your paycheck and set up automatic transfers for your Roth IRA or other retirement vehicles. Fifth, ensure your bills are paid automatically from your checking account. This prevents late fees, maintains your creditworthiness, and provides peace of mind. By automating these processes, your daily account becomes a seamless conduit. Your income flows in and then automatically disperses to where it can do the most good, honoring God, growing your wealth, protecting your family, and building your future. This intentional design prevents stagnant cash from being squandered, transforming your financial system into an efficient, purposeful, and obedient servant of your stewardship goals. It allows you to focus your mental energy on higher-level decision-making and living out your God-given purpose rather than constantly managing daily money flow. The hub, when managed efficiently through automation, truly becomes the central nervous system of a thriving, biblically sound financial life.
Part 9. Draining Traps. Avoid misplaced money and hasty decisions. As we build a robust financial ecosystem based on God's wisdom, it is equally crucial to identify and avoid the draining traps that can silently erode our wealth and hinder multiplication. These traps often stem from common mistakes, misplaced money, and hasty decisions, undermining even the best intentions. Understanding these pitfalls allows us to guard against negligence and impatience, which, like hidden leaks, can slowly but surely drain our resources. One of the most pervasive draining traps is leaving money in low-interest accounts for extended periods. This ties directly back to our discussion of the hub, your checking account. While a checking account is excellent for efficient daily transactions, it is a poor place for long-term savings or investment capital. Money left in such accounts, especially during periods of inflation, is effectively losing value over time. It is not working for you. In fact, it is working against you. This misplaced money represents a missed opportunity for growth, a passive form of leakage. We must be diligent to ensure our capital is always deployed purposefully, earning a return even if modest. Another significant draining trap is chasing speculative trends. The allure of quick riches, the promise of extraordinary returns from the latest hot investment, can be incredibly tempting. This trap preys on impatience and a desire for instant gratification rather than the long-term, disciplined approach of biblical stewardship. The book of Proverbs, in its 13th chapter, verse 11, offers a direct warning. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. This profound wisdom cautions against speculative ventures that promised fast profits but often lead to rapid losses. Such ventures are rarely rooted in sound financial principles or long-term value creation. Instead, they often rely on hype, fear of missing out, or a lack of fundamental understanding. A faithful steward avoids these alluring but dangerous paths, opting instead for consistent, prudent, and diversified investments that align with a long-term vision. Delaying action is a silent killer of wealth. This includes putting off starting to save for retirement, procrastinating on opening an investment account, or postponing the creation of an emergency fund. The power of compounding, as we discussed with the Future Builder, works best over long periods. Every year, month, or even day of delay in investing means missed opportunities for your money to grow.
Time is your most valuable asset in wealth building, and procrastination robs you of it. This inaction is often fueled by a lack of clarity, a feeling of being overwhelmed, or simply a lack of discipline. The biblical call to diligence and seizing the day applies powerfully to our financial lives. The book of Proverbs, in its 6th chapter, verses 10 and 11, warns, "A little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come upon you like a robber, and want like an armed man." Financial indolence has severe consequences. To guard against these draining traps, we must be vigilant against both negligence and impatience. Negligence manifests as simply not paying attention to our finances, allowing money to sit idly, or failing to educate ourselves on wise stewardship principles. Impatience pushes us towards risky short-term schemes, bypassing the steady, consistent effort required for true wealth creation. Both undermine the biblical mandate for diligent, long-term stewardship. A faithful steward actively guards against these traps by 1. Regularly reviewing account balances and ensuring cash is not stagnating. 2. Resisting the temptation of get-rich-quick schemes and instead focusing on proven, diversified investment strategies. 3. Taking decisive action to automate savings and investments, overcoming the inertia of delay. By consciously avoiding these draining traps, you protect your hard-earned resources, allow your money to work effectively, and pave the way for true multiplication, ensuring that your financial journey remains aligned with God's wisdom and purpose.
Part 10, Your Challenge. Implement Solomon's system. Build your legacy. We have journeyed together through a profound exploration of God's financial principles, unveiling Solomon's system, a divinely inspired framework for stewardship. We've discovered the 5 purposeful accounts designed to optimize your financial life: the storehouse for immediate blessing, the wisdom account for multiplication, the protector for health and security, the future builder for long-term growth, and the legacy account for generational impact. We've also examined the hub for efficient daily flow and the draining traps to avoid. Now, as our time together draws to a close, the final call is not merely to understand, but to act. This is your challenge, to move beyond knowledge to active implementation. It is one thing to comprehend these principles intellectually. It is an entirely different and far more transformative thing to apply them diligently in your own life. The power of Solomon's system lies not in its complexity, but in its consistent application. Just as Solomon didn't just understand wisdom, but lived it, you are now invited to translate this understanding into tangible, life-changing action. The first step in this implementation is to open these accounts. Take stock of your current financial landscape. Do you have a dedicated storehouse account for your tithe? Is your wisdom account actively diversified and growing? Is your healing account adequately funded for unforeseen emergencies? Have you established or maximized your future builder accounts like a 401k or a Roth individual retirement arrangement? And are you consciously thinking about a legacy account even in its nascent stages? If any of these are missing or inadequately addressed, make it your immediate priority to establish them. Each account serves a unique, God-given purpose in your financial ecosystem. Next, and perhaps most crucially, automate your giving, saving, and investing. This is where the power of the hub truly shines. Set up automatic transfers for your tithe from your checking account to your church. Schedule regular, automatic contributions to your investment accounts, your emergency fund, and your retirement vehicles. Remove the human element of hesitation or forgetfulness. Let your financial system work for you, consistently and diligently, reflecting your commitment to wise stewardship. Automation is the discipline applied proactively, ensuring your resources are directed according to your plan, honoring God first, then diligently growing and protecting what He has entrusted to you. As you implement these practical steps, there's a deeper spiritual dimension. Declare your purpose to make money and build a legacy aligned with God's provision. This isn't about accumulating wealth for selfish reasons. It's about seeing money as a tool, a resource from God to be stewarded for His glory and for the good of others. Declare that your financial journey will be a testimony to His faithfulness. Declare that you will use your resources not just to live comfortably, but to bless your family, your community, and to advance God's kingdom on earth. This declaration transforms your financial goals into a spiritual mission, imbuing them with eternal significance. The choice is now yours. You have been given the blueprint, the wisdom, and the practical steps. Will you continue to manage your money haphazardly, susceptible to the draining traps? Or will you choose to rise like Solomon, with wisdom, discipline, and a clear purpose, and build a financial legacy that honors God and blesses generations? The path to financial freedom, abundant generosity, and multi-generational impact is before you. Take up the challenge. Begin today. Implement Solomon's system and build your legacy.